Hello and welcome to Down to Earth with Terry Virts, where we talk about what matters down here on planet Earth. Today, I'm really excited to have two colleagues of mine from Harvard Business School. Kuzzat Altay is the founder and CEO, and Arben Istrefi is the COO of Cydeo, a global tech education company based in Northern Virginia with clients and students in 24 countries. Guys, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a little while.
Hey, Terry. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Where are you right now? Where are you both located?
Kuzzat?
I am traveling in Bay Area right now. I'm in San Jose. I'm here for a meeting, but I know we are based in Virginia.
Yep.
Right.
And I'm in Northern Virginia, close to our offices.
We're working from home today?
Yep. Most of our team is at home.
Right. So we met a little while ago, and I was really intrigued by your story. In fact, I was amazed by your story. It's a very cool one. And if you guys could both maybe start off with Kuzzat, because your story was pretty amazing, and it's very relevant to today. What's going on in the world today? So can you give us that your background?
Oh yeah, I am originally from China. I was born in very west part of China. It's called in China it's called Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. Even though I'm from China, I'm not ethnically Chinese. There's Turkic Uyghur people living in there. So I was 19 years old attending medical college because of my family's political background. I was arrested by Chinese intelligence, and I decided to leave the country because I didn't see a future for me. So
can you explain that, your family's political background? What does that mean?
So my aunt is a very prominent Uyghur human rights activist. Because of her standing against forced abortion in China in a very long time ago. She was subjected to, Chinese, authorities like bad kind of treatment. She went to jail for 6 years for that. And, she was saved by United States. She was like able to come to the US directly from jail cell to the United States. So that's our family's background because of her. In China, it's just how it works is like if you have a political problem in a family, the entire family is punished. So, because of that reason, we were in trouble as a family. So I was attending medical college. And, even though I didn't have any legal issue in China, I didn't commit to any separatism or anything. Anyway, I was targeted as well. So I thought it was not a good place to leave after I was arrested and harassed and threatened by Chinese intelligence when I was around 19, 20 years old. So I decided to leave. In 2005, I was able to go to Turkey. And through United Nations Refugee Committee, it took me 2 years to become refugee and come to the United States. In 2008, I came to US as a refugee with my wife and my 10-month-old baby that time.
Wow. So what language were you speaking there in China? Was it Mandarin or Uyghur?
Yeah, it's a Uyghur language. It's very close to Uzbek, if you know Uzbekistan.
I know the country. I don't know the language.
Yeah, but even with people know Turkey, I believe like 70% the same. So some pronunciation, difference, but the language, grammar, most stuff are very similar.
To Turkish language?
Yes.
So go ahead.
We do speak Chinese though, because we have this double, language education. So most Uyghurs, they speak Chinese as well.
So because your aunt in the past had protested against forced abortions, was that because they're forcing the Uyghur people to have abortions because they want to shrink the population?
Yeah, the Chinese government, right? They've been, practicing one-child policy for decades.
Yeah.
And for the Han Chinese population, I don't think they have any population issues. There are like 1.5 billion of them. Right. But for the Uyghurs, it was difficult. So many Uyghurs would have like many kids. And the more you have, you get punishment from the government and many other things as well, right? Not only forced abortion, more about human rights and our equal rights as being a Chinese citizen, just like any other Chinese person in China. So that was what she was advocating for. Her name is Rabia Kadir. She was very successful businesswoman. And at the time, she was a billionaire before she go to jail. So
Wow.
very influential family. And I was a victim of uh, my aunt,
Right.
but no complaint. I
Right.
respect what she did for, our people.
Right. Well, what are the other issues? Because, like I said, I think Americans probably don't really understand what's happening there, or you hear it on the news, but that's a million miles away. And is it propaganda? Is it really bad? Is it not? People don't really know what is happening there.
Back then it was 2005, right? I
Yeah.
thought that we didn't have enough freedom and safety in China as a Uyghur ethnic minority, right?
Right.
So, but in 2018, my father, he sent me a message from WeChat. It's a Chinese version of WhatsApp. As you guys know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is not allowed in China, even though China has access to our platforms here. So they use WeChat.
Yeah.
So he sent me a message, say, son, they're taking me. And I didn't know where he was taken. My father, he was 67 at the time. So then I start, hearing from our community members in the United States and around the world, like people were just disappearing, right? So in the beginning, we didn't know what happened. Then this news started popping up. It's a concentration camp. Everyone, regardless of their religion, Uyghur, Muslims, Christians, anyone with Uyghur ethnic identity, as well as Kazakh, Kyrgyz, ethnicities, they were taken to those mass camps, right? Um, it has been a very, very difficult past few years. I think this practice has been like maybe at least 4 years. According to United Nations, at least 2 million people are in these concentration camps. So what they do is every day you have physical and mental torture, brainwashing, forced to denounce your religion. At the same time, when you graduated, so-called graduated from those camps, it means that you're submitting yourself to Chinese Communist Party. Then you're shifted to forced labor camps, which is basically slavery, right? These made in China products. That's why United States are right now. There's a bill in Senate. It's called Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, right? So we don't know the products we're buying from China, which is made in China, is involved with slave labor or not, because the supply chain is so difficult to track down which company is not doing forced labor. So 80% of the Chinese, cotton is produced in Xinjiang region, and those
80%.
of the Chinese cotton. So 20% of the world cotton is produced in my home region, and people are working in the farms as well, cotton farms, as a slave labor. So when you see
What is that like? What is that like to be a slave laborer in the Xinjiang region?
I don't know, but recently there were many news popped up. Women especially, they're the most unfortunately. It's difficult for them. There were gang rape of women. It was in BBC report. One of the victim, survivor of the camp, was actually giving a testimony on BBC report. She was saying that they were auctioning Uyghur women in the concentration camps for. She said we would have Han Chinese man covered with the mask, come with the suit, black suit at night, and picking the pretty girls and pay more money for pretty girls, right? And they will unfortunately gang raped, and some of them would get tortured. If they resist, they would just disappear. It means that they might be killed.
Right.
So I, unfortunately, and also it's kind of recognition of what's going on. United States, Canada, Netherlands, and UK are already accepted, this as a genocide, because according to a German researcher, Adrian Zenz, because of forced sterilization and forced abortion, Uyghur population growth rate is 0% at this point, on top of all this killings and massacres in the camps.
They do forced sterilization there.
Yeah, unfortunately, according to camp survivors, they give women some sort of medicines every day and all of them are sterilized.
Right.
Some of them were taken to the hospitals as late as 6 months pregnant, like late pregnancy, right? This 6 months is like a live baby, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's viable. Yeah. Yeah.
It recently came out on the news that they were just in a kind of killing these babies
Yeah.
in late stage pregnancy, unfortunately.
Wow, that is. I don't think when we hear things, we think, yeah, it's rough there, but we don't understand the extent of, just how bad how bad that is. And you said something Han Chinese, but I think many of the listeners may not know what that means. With the Han Chinese men are the ones who are doing this. What does that mean?
So this is directly, I'm quoting a BBC report.
Okay.
So they were coming as a customer to the camps and picking the girls.
Right. Okay. Right.
So they were paying. But this is nothing against Han population. There's 1.5 billion of them. So not everyone is involved with this.
Right.
However, the customers were coming to, unfortunately, those customers for raping Uyghur girls coming to the camp with Han Chinese.
Okay. Meaning that really means like ethnic Chinese, I guess is the, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, unfortunately.
We don't. Yeah. Okay. So how did you escape that? Is it worse now than it was when you were there?
When I was there, it was very difficult to get passport. I just tried. I believe I got very, very lucky. It is unbelievable for me, from my family background, to be able to get a passport. So I got a passport, and after that I got arrested. So I waited for a few months. I didn't go out. So Chinese intelligence was tracking me. So my grandfather, from my mother's side, he was a professor in Beijing University. Beijing, it's called Zhongyang Minzu Daxue. It's like kind of university in Beijing, and he was teaching Turkish and Uyghur in there. So I said, I'm going to go to my grandfather, because I was grew up in Beijing. So I thought Chinese police did not pay attention to that. So I was calling my father from Beijing every day. I was like, we're looking for restaurants, because Uyghur people, our food is very famous in China. People love it. So I was like, every day, I know they're tapping our phone. So I would call my father, say, today we're negotiating the restaurants, the rent. Today we're looking for the furniture, table, chairs. Meanwhile, I called my aunt from street phones that, you can put the card on the streets in the United States. So she arranged, with the Turkish embassy from the United States. I went to Turkish embassy. They said, they stamped me, the visa, right? So at that time, we had some pretty influential individuals in Beijing that I know, and that person was able to check the custom that if our name is there as a blacklisted person, and it was not there. So we bought a ticket through Dubai to Istanbul, and I was praying in the plane when it's taking off. I felt like they would take the plane back, but I was able to escape. That's why I'm alive today. My father, he always said, son, I'm very happy that you're in US. I don't know what would happen to you if you were in the concentration camp.
God, that's like a Jason Bourne story. That's amazing. Unfortunately, that was 2005. I think the surveillance, you said you're being tracked by Chinese intelligence, but in 2021, there's complete knowledge of everybody at all times, right? And you guys are both cyber people, but can you explain the Chinese, well, really any country can do it. I think China is probably the best, but how do they surveil you? How do they track you? How do they know where you are? And you mentioned WeChat. I had lots of friends on WeChat, but I deleted it off my phone. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not.
I mean, this old TikTok things as well, right? Not only WeChat. I was watching news today. U.S. government wants to, ban TikTok.
Right.
All the U.S. government individuals. So it tells you something. But anyway, it's been changed, since 2005. Right now, I think, Xi Jinping a few years ago, he said, by 2030, China wants to be AI superpower. Right, it's going to be a dictatorship, with supported by super technology. So if you look at the images coming from the Xinjiang region, you will see that every 100 meters or so, you will see massive surveillance cameras with facial recognition technology.
Yeah.
That is not enough. All the Uyghurs, they have to install apps on their phone, so it's tracked. My father, for example, he has QR code on his door. So every day, a Chinese, individual, like not individual, like somebody from the government will come and scan every single day. And that's how they track. I mean, phone is not enough. That's app. They send a physical person to scan a QR code on my father's door. So, which means that, you are being watched every single second of the day.
Yeah. It's 1980. Have you guys read 1984?
Yeah.
That book always fascinated me, how dictatorships work. And, the Soviet Union, when I was a kid, was the big one. But I think China puts all those to shame. They're really good at that. And even in I went there 5 times, and I love China and I love Chinese people. It's an amazing place. But in the few years I was traveling as a speaker, I could see, like facial recognition. You just walk up and they know who you are. There's a lot of that. And that was 3 years ago, and they're very good at that. And so it's just humbling and sobering to realize that everything that you do and everything that you say and every message and, your habits are known by the government. I mean, it's a pretty crazy situation that they're in. So you end up in Turkey, and through the UN High Commission on Refugees, you're able to come to America under it's a refugee program, or did you get like a visa to come here? How did that work?
So it was an interesting experience. That time we didn't have a Syrian issue, so there were like very less refugees in Turkey. So otherwise it would take 10 years to come to the United States.
Right.
I applied, and they interview you in the UN office in Ankara, and you just have to tell your story. And if they think that you are trustworthy, they give you a paperwork from United Nations saying that this person cannot be deported to their country because they have their life may be in danger, right? So
right.
After getting that paper, so they submit us to USCIS. I believe there was a contractor company called ICMC. So they would submit us to USCIS, and they review our paperwork. And so after 2 years, roughly applying for it, all the interview process, we had an interview with USCIS, officers. They came from United States to Turkey in Istanbul.
What is CIS? What is USCIS? What is USCIS?
United States Immigration Office, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
they came, and I don't remember her name, but she was a woman. She was so difficult, tough. I thought she was angry at me, right? So I was like, there's no way I'm getting accepted. This lady, she hates me, based on the interview process. And she put the stamp, and it says yes, right? So I was so shocked because of probably it's their technique to make sure that we're legit in terms of our life-threatening situation in China. But I was so shocked, and I still remember her face. I don't know her name. So I was accepted, and with paperwork that is issued by U.S. Embassy in Istanbul, they just give you a paper saying you can come to the United States because my passport was expired. So they arranged Delta Airline. You have to pay back, once you come to the United States, find a job. So it took me a few years to pay back because I was making very less money.
Yeah.
But, I came to JF. Yeah.
Where did you get your passport from? Did you get another Chinese passport, or
no?
Where are you a citizen?
I had Chinese passport when I was escaping from China.
Right.
Yeah. So that was expired when I came to US.
So how did you get a passport? Yeah.
Huh?
How did you get a new passport?
I didn't get a new passport. The passport was expired. So I got a paper from US Embassy said I can travel with that paper to United States.
Okay.
It was a thick, very nice paper though. It's like A4 size.
You want to save that.
Yeah, I still have it.
So you come to the States without a lot of money or any money, and a wife and a baby, And do you know anybody? You land at JFK. And by the way, thank you to Delta Airlines. And you know what? You just made me think of something. When you're on an airplane traveling internationally, especially, you don't know the stories of the people on that plane. There may be somebody, there may be a refugee, there may be somebody trying to escape, you know, that they just had the Ryanair that got diverted to Minsk and they captured that dissident. You know, you don't know who's on your airplane. Whenever I fly, I'm gonna think of that. I wonder what everybody's story is here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I came to JFK.
Yeah.
It was my first experience with US, and it was so cold. I've never seen that much AC in my life. It was
It was
July
hot.
29.
Summertime. Yeah.
Yeah, July 29, 2008. I remember that day. And I was nervous. I didn't speak English. I remember on the wall, it was like Sony, some sort of, advertisement. That's what I remember. And we had a transfer. I came to Dallas Airport in Northern Virginia. And I had relatives like my aunt and, her kids were here. As I mentioned in the beginning of the show, that Bush administration negotiated some deal with China, and she came from, released from the jail, and without seeing us and family in China, directly came to the United States. So my cousins picked me up, and that's how I started my story. I did not speak English. I was staying with them for a few months, and Fairfax County, Family Services, they provided me food stamps and Medicaid. Also, they sent me to Fairfax Adult Community Public Schools to learn English. So
this is Northern Virginia, Fairfax, Virginia.
Yeah, it's a Fairfax County sent
Okay.
me to learn English.
Right.
I didn't have $300, but they paid for it. So they took a test for entry, like to get into school, and there were an old lady. She said, "What do you see outside?" I look at outside. I said, "Green," because the trees were green. That's all I see. So, what's your name? Kuzzat. Whatever. Anyway, so she put me in the high beginning. You have a low beginning, which starts from ABC.
Right.
And in high beginning, you're like, you're able to say, "My name is Kuzzat."
Right.
Green. Right. So I started with that. So in 6 months, I graduated that school. I was jumping multiple classes because my English was improving really fast. And I remember my teacher, he was amazing person, Tom Bello. I think he was there for a purpose, not for any money, because it didn't make sense for him to work in there. Later on, I find out he was pretty wealthy, and he was teaching in there. And he said, "Kuzzat, come here. Like, you have kids, right? You have baby, right?" He said, "More English, more money." More English, more money, right? So that's how I had a passion to learn English better.
So in 2008, I'm just wrapping my brain around this. I studied Russian for years and years and years, and I'm really bad at Russian. And of course, I wasn't thrown into it like you were, but it's amazing how far you've come. And Arben, by the way, we're going to get to you. I know it's been the Kuzzat show so far, but you're about to come into the story. So
I'm enjoying it just as much.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. Okay. So you're in Fairfax. You don't have money to pay $300 for an English class. You're getting food stamps. I think it hits me, the importance of some of these social programs that we have to help people out that need help. Because I don't need help, and that's not my world, and I'm not used to that. So it's good to hear the other story. So what happens from there? You learn English. How do you obviously you get a job?
So one day, I just woke up with this inner energy of being very shameful of like taking food stamp after a few months of learning English. And I told my wife, "I'm going to find a job today, and I'm not going to come back." And I remember that day, and she's like, "Good luck." And I took a bus. At that time, I was living in Centerville. Took a bus. I went to Boston Station in Arlington. So I know there were more Boston Mall. There was Sears, Macy's, things like that.
Right.
And I just didn't know like what's going on. I was just like randomly applying for a job. Like it's just like, are you guys hiring? No. Are you guys hiring? No. I was just walking into any store. It was like, so I think it's the dumbest way to apply for a job. I was like, are you guys hiring? You know, I got like rejected maybe 100 times that day.
I'm sorry, you were a medical student.
Yeah.
Like it's really, 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 really hard to get into medical school. I know that in America. So you're not, I mean, you're a well-educated, obviously you're a very intelligent man, and you're
I
just
don't have college degree.
all trying to find a job. Okay. I just want to put that in context.
But
Yeah.
one more thing is this: when you are hungry and when you have no money, it hurts your self-esteem, right? So your confidence level is going to become, you know, it's just going to make you like limited your ability to think beyond your rent, right? So anyway, I was applying all these places, and none of them, you know, said they were hiring. And I see, I was walking, I see this cafe empty, right? I was like, what am I gonna lose? And like, you know, I got 100. Like, let me just walk in, you know, let me just ask. I walk in, I said, you know, are you guys hiring? He said, no. And I look at his face, and I feel like this guy speaks Turkish. I said, hey man, do you speak Turkish in Turkey? Türkçe biliyor musun? He was like, do you speak Turkish? I said, yeah, I speak Turkish, fluent. And he's like, uncle, this guy speaks Turkish. And the guy came out, you know, from the back of the
Turkish mafia.
He said, do you speak Turkish? I was like, yes, where are you from? I'm Uyghur. And he said, you know, have a seat. Do you know English? I was like, I'm improving. And then he said, when can you start? I said, like, I want to start now. And he gave me that thing with the red one. He said, go back to the kitchen. I see this mountain big of like dishes. And he said, you can start washing now. I was so happy. I mean, can you imagine like how happy you are washing the dishes in the restaurant? It's like, I didn't even ask how much he's going to pay me. Like I was just washing. And I texted my wife in between. I was like, I found a job, and she was so happy. And that was my first job. That guy was very nice, and he was okay for me to like schedule my time around my English courses. And he had another store with a grocery store, and he needed butcher in there. So I was learning how to cut meat, chickens. You know, I remember the map of the, you know, all the meats they have map. You know where to cut all this.
Right.
So I remember those things. You know, I had to clean restrooms, things like that. You know, after that, I had to work in, you know, restaurants. I heard that you can make tips, so it's more than your hourly rate. So I work in a restaurant as a waiter. I heard you can make commission. I tried to sold car, you know, and I applied. You know, I applied for Harris Teeter, Home Depot. I was rejected from those things. Often I felt extremely painful and shameful when I see the job description, college degree required. It was just a big shame for me to have no college degree. And also I didn't understand, like for a cashier position, why would you even mention college degree at that time, right? It was just so painful to have that in a high barrier for you know, immigrant and refugee like me.
Right.
So I delivered package for Amazon as well before I got
Cool.
into IT.
What did your wife say when you came home and said, I got a job washing dishes? Was that a happy time?
Yeah, she was very happy. Indeed, like what I have today, you know, this small amount of success, you know, at least 51% is hers.
Right. Of course. Your spouse is always the most important, for sure. That story is like so touching. That's amazing. So here you are, you're doing odd jobs, you know, I don't know if you're making minimum wage, but you're not making a lot of money, for years. How long did that go on?
So for 4 years in the United States, I hated end of the months because I knew I was not going to be able to pay my rent on time.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with having no money is you're going to lose more money.
Right.
Overdraft protection fee, it's very painful. You know, this automatic, you know, if you don't have water in a bottle, can you pour water? You cannot, because the bottle is empty. I don't know why these banks keep letting companies to charge your account even you don't have money. One time, like I had like 7 charges automatic charges from the companies to my account. It was like, automatic payment.
Right.
And I have 200 something, $80 or something. I had to go to the bank and almost cried in Bank of America to the bank manager. I was like, I'm poor, I have no money, I didn't know that I didn't have money. Why you guys allow these companies to charge? So anyway, they lifted that after I complained. But I always have that situation. I always have this sticker on my door, like 2 weeks evacuation notice, because I couldn't pay my rent. And also you pay, I think 3% or something if you late payment fee. You pay more because you have no money. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So from there, I want to share a memory, right? Not sure if it's too much. I took my son to Walmart. He was maybe, around 3.5, 4 years old. And that time the new Toy Story came out from Pixar, right? And there's a toy and it says Buzz Lightyear and it says press here. And my son pressed and wing opens up, Buzz Lightyear. And my son says, Daddy, I want this. I was like, I see the price, $49. Immediately my calculation is how many hours I have to work for this. And like approximately 1 day.
Right.
I had to explain to my son, like little son, why it's not a good idea to buy that toy, to convince him.
Right.
And he said yes. Right from there, one day I was sorting my packages when I was working for Amazon's contractor company called Laser Ship. So I have this one pallet of boxes that I have to deliver in my own car. I'm looking at stickers on top, the addresses, sorting it based on location. And I heard one guy said, I'm learning coding. He was next to me. And he said, soon I'm going to find a job. I was like, okay. The another day was Friday after a week. And he said, hey, do you know that guy, Hassan? I was like, yeah. He's Uyghur too. And he came to United States way before me as a teenager. So he speaks a better English. And he has a college degree. And he said he found a job as a software developer in San Diego for $90,000. And it was just like, I was talking to myself. I was like, Hassan speaks better English and mine is like just, below average. And I said, Hassan has college degree. I don't even have it. It took him 6 months to learn coding to find a job. Like maybe it's going to take me 12 months, but next year, this time, 12 months later, if I don't take a shot, probably I'm delivering package chased by dogs. And I was like, let me take a shot. Like honestly, this is a very honest, like that self conversation with myself. I said, since I'm dumb, it's going to take 12 months because I'm telling you, when you have no money, when you're hungry, when all you could think about is pay my rent on time and diaper and the milk for your kids, you have no self-esteem. So I said, Hassan is smart, I'm dumb. Therefore, it's okay to take me 12 months. I had to start somewhere. So I started this journey of learning coding and I dedicate myself like in a so obsessive level. And I said, I have no other choice. This is my last chance in life to turn around. And I ordered every single book that is available in Amazon about my area that I was learning. I was memorizing, I was practicing, and in 6 months, I graduated. I went to market.
Wow. 6 months. You did it in 6, yeah.
6 months, and I remember it was in Fairfax, Panera Bread. There's a Fairfax library in Main Street, and there's a Panera Bread. I was sitting outside, and I had a very good interview with a company called Innovlan, a Bowie, Maryland healthcare tech company. And I had, after the interview, I was not expecting getting an offer from there. So this HR person calls me. She's like, Kuzzat, I have good news for you. I was sitting outside, like practicing coding in Panera Bread. She's like, I have a good news for you. We're offering you $93,000, 3 weeks vacation, and with healthcare package. She mentioned some other stuff, and she said, "Would you willing to accept this offer?" I was like, I was like holding my phone, uh, in 2011, I made $28,000 delivering package on my own car for Amazon in 2011. Now we're talking about 93. And I did not immediately jump in to say yes because I didn't want to look desperate. And I told her, yeah, not everything is about money. I love the company. I love the team. I think, what this team and the project, stands for is it's more than the money that you're mentioning. So therefore, I would love to accept this offer. And she was touched. She said, we need people like you. So, first.
What did your wife say that night?
Huh?
What did your wife say that night?
She hugged me and she cried.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 1 hour drive every day from Fairfax to Bowie, Maryland.
Right.
But
Bowie. You're working in Bowie, Maryland.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm from Columbia, right across the way. Yeah.
So I had to drive 1 hour, and because it was my new job, I didn't want to mess up. I have kids.
Yeah.
And I went to work at 7 a.m. In IT, people are, cool. It's not like that stressful. People start coming 9:30, 10.
Right.
You put a meeting at 9:30, they think you're nuts, right? So it has to be after 10. So I went to work 7 a.m. every single day. And in the parking lot, there's no other car. And often I see our CEO's car in there, right? He was the first person coming to the building.
Right.
And I was probably second or first, and every single day for a few months. And after 3 months, because of my desperate situation as a refugee for many years, I always in constant fear I'm going to lose my job. So I had to work extremely hard. And one day my manager, Pete, right, I was like working on my desk and he tapped my shoulder. He said, hey, come. I was like, hey, I'm getting fired, I'm just going to go home, tell my wife, like, maybe I'm getting fired. So I sat in his office. He said, come sit. I sat, and he gave me this two pages of A4 paper. He said, take a look. I was like, okay, I have to sign and go. So I read the paper. It says, exceed expectation in performance evaluation in 90 days and, 4.8% raise and $2,000 bonus. And he said, you're going to get it on Friday. I've never seen somebody like pay you $2,000 for as a bonus. It's crazy, right? I have to work entire months to make.
That was your monthly paycheck, yeah.
Yeah. Now he's saying that you get this $2,000 for free, and it is crazy. I was so happy.
You didn't get it for free. You earned it.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's like bonus, right? I just like it's crazy for the background you're coming from, like bonus. Like I used to like when you work for low-income jobs, sometimes you get yelled by your manager, lots, customers, things like that. So all of a sudden, because of your technical competency that you develop, people respect you. They show you respect. I could see me and my family, not only our financial status, our social status was improved as well. Like you just have a better status. And one thing that I was painful to watch in an IT company was this, right? What do you, as an underdog, right? I consider myself underdog, right? Underserved, like have less opportunity. What you imagine about IT is people have to go to MIT, Virginia Tech. And when you say IT background, you're talking about this SpaceX launching station. You have 15 screens in front of your, codes going up and down. That is the imagination. Once I got started, I realized my colleagues, they're amazing people, but they're not necessarily smarter or better than anyone working in construction, anyone working as a cashier, anyone driving Uber. They are not better, smarter people.
Right.
The number one difference in there is being in the right industry. They end up in the right place. And there are many people, they study music, couldn't become Justin Bieber. What the hell are you going to do? You're going to drive Uber, right? So it's just like right or wrong spot. So, and then I was like, maybe anyone can do this job. I'm looking at my colleagues. I said, they're making 100K. I said, anyone can do this job. So I started feeling bad for people in my situation. because I have that pain still. I feel until to my bones, I feel that fear of not able to pay my rent, not able to take my son to a doctor because he has asthma. So that pain made me feel like, no father, no mother should go through this. And, for 4 years in my IT career, I worked for Innovlon, I worked for CGI, I worked for Accenture, I worked for Fannie Mae. When I see somebody, for example, a very nice, person in Panera Bread serving, I felt bad for her. I said, this person is so nice. She's smiling. She has amazing attitude. Why she has to make $7? She has to make like $40 an hour. So I was like, do you have 2 minutes? It was like, what the hell? What are you gonna? Why? So sometimes they would misunderstand me, and I start pitching her like, you need to get into IT. You can go to this website to learn, W3 schools. You can learn coding, and you're gonna make more money. She was like, okay, this guy is crazy. But some of them would sign up for those courses and find a job. I was thinking that I was helping other people, but I didn't know intentionally, I was developing a pitching skill for a business.
Right.
I did this for 4 years for free.
So how did you meet Arben? Or Arben, how did you meet? Your story is unbelievable, because this is like unbelievable. But so Arben, we'll switch over to you. Can you just run us through the story of how you met Kuzzat?
Yeah, sure. So Kuzzat and I was working in government services, so I was doing IT consulting. I was actually at the Department of State managing IT programs there. We were introduced by mutual friends, so we actually went out for a dinner together. We met, kind of hit it off, even though we come from different worlds, had a lot of commonalities. So I started consulting for cyber tech. Kuzzat and I were meeting regularly. I was consulting, I guess it was for about a year, right, Kuzzat?
Yeah, we worked together for a year.
Yeah, and then, things just kept moving positively. Things were moving fast. And then I think you and I met one day or talked one day, and we were like, when is this going to happen, right? When are you going to join the company? And so that's kind of how I made the decision. I decided to leave government services, and, I've been with Cydeo Cyber Tech since then.
So we were laughing before we got started about our immigration stories. Kuzzat wins.
Definitely.
I immigrated from Maryland to Texas. You need your own passport here in Texas, they joke. And yours is from New Jersey, right?
Yeah, I was born and raised in New Jersey. I do, both my parents are immigrants to the U.S. They immigrated to the U.S., I don't know, maybe 45 years ago now.
Right.
And most of my family is here, although I still have family overseas. My father is Albanian from what's now North Macedonia, former Yugoslavia.
Right.
And my mother's from Sicily. And so she came here when she was young as well. And they both met at ESL night classes.
That's amazing.
As fate would have it. Yeah.
So you both have this immigrant background, and I think there's something there that drives you. I don't know. My family immigrated from Germany, hundreds of years ago. So, but there's something, look, in Texas, there's a lot of Mexican immigrants, and they're the hardest working people on the planet. And I think there's this fire. Well, first of all, most of them don't have a lot of money, obviously, when you show up in the States. We just heard that from Kuzzat. And, but there's something about being hungry that is really good. I think, it motivates you to be productive and do things, and the farther away you get from that, the less hungry you become. And there's something good, if you can rekindle that hungry spirit. There's those Rocky movies, those cheesy Rocky movies back in the 80s, but there's some truth there, I think.
Definitely. It's a totally different experience, I would say, because all of us coming from different backgrounds, right? It's a totally different experience being raised as, the son of immigrants, right? And being raised by parents who are, have a little bit of a gap in terms of understanding, and they're trying to teach you certain values. And, my parents, having been here for like 45 years now, they have a certain image of what back home means, even though back home has completely changed. for them, it's frozen in time.
Right.
And so they're trying to instill in you kind of a snapshot of some amazing ideals, but time has basically frozen for them. And so being raised in the US, there is a little bit of a gap that gets created even very young, where you're experiencing what it's like to grow up in schools in America and in American neighborhoods, and you're being told that you're also something else. It's not that you're something else, but you're also something else.
Right.
And that conflict in your mind, I think for most people is really good and really healthy. And there's ways of where parents do it in an unhealthy way, for sure. And that creates problems and in a lot of the first generation American communities. And that's something like, I was always involved in nonprofit organizations, specifically with ethnic communities originally from the Balkans. And, we were dealing with things that parents just didn't know how to deal with, like suicide or suicidal thoughts of their kids, or anxiety and depression. And just so many things that, our parents may not have been as equipped to deal with, or were not expecting.
Right.
The idea was that, so many parents, at least from where I came from, or the families that I had connections with, they were working 16 hours a day, both parents, and their kids. A lot of times, the parents weren't home, not for everyone. But it's just parents and children living two different lives, as the years go on. So a lot of challenges as well.
Right. I think that experience is something that, like, I don't know, that wasn't my experience. So I think it's good to understand what's going on. And one of the things happening in America that I really don't like is this kind of demonization of immigrants. We're all a nation of immigrants. I mean, even Native Americans came across the Bering Sea from Russia thousands of years ago, right? Everybody in America came here from somewhere at some point. So, and I think we really need to look at it as a competitive advantage. Like, there's thousands of people in Africa and Central America waiting to come here. So it's a way that I think America can use that to our advantage to outcompete other countries, because so many people want to come here. And I'm assuming your parents have that, or you had that, America's a good thing. I want to work there. There's opportunity and so on. I mean, is that how it's America's viewed from your backgrounds, your parents' backgrounds?
Of course, there is an in the Balkans, right?
Right.
We feel that, like, a lot of the Balkan countries feel that, they are the 53rd, 54th, 55th state of the US, right? Like they, it's just, at least where my father's from. But I will tell you, just to look at this from a different angle, right? Even your average American, non-immigrant American, didn't really think like this before, right? I'm talking about in the 80s, 70s, 80s,
right,
early 90s. Like, my father came to this country in the 70s, I think, and he was a tool and die maker, right? Back in the day when US was doing this stuff. Right. And my uncle did the same thing, and they worked for a business owner, a non-immigrant business owner who had the tool and die shop. And literally both my father and my uncle, like, took complete responsibility for the tool and die shop, and they grew it. And, that person entrusted them more than he would have entrusted anybody else. I would even argue somebody born and raised in the US. And that level of trust and responsibility that they felt towards that business owner, you couldn't question it. And so even, average Americans at that time, I would argue many people just didn't feel this way. They recognized the values that people were coming with, and that those values were unique, and that they would contribute to American society in a big way, an explosive way. And we saw that in the 80s, 90s, and even to now.
Yeah, no, it's one of the best stories of America. When I was at NASA, my mechanic, I flew T-38 jets, and one of my mechanics was a Vietnamese guy. He came over in 1979, escaped. He was like a well-educated, high society, college graduate. And then he has your story, Kuzzat, and he ended up being a mechanic, an aircraft mechanic, and he put both of his kids through college and, piano lessons and whatever. And he was wanting to start a business, and we were talking about it. And I was thinking, this guy is the perfect businessman. I mean, he's going to work 100%. He's going to be devoted. This is the guy that you want running a business and owning a business. So anyway, it's a story that a lot of us who are born and raised here, we take America for granted. and we shouldn't. It's not, by the way, it's not guaranteed. It's not like America is going to be perfect forever. So we need to cultivate it. And it's through stories like you and your families that will keep on, I don't want to say keeping America great, but you know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. So you guys you're doing like IT work, but you pivot to IT education.
Yeah. So
how did that happen? Yeah.
So for me, I came from the IT consulting background.
Right.
It was interesting because I was an international relations major, and I ended up getting a junior business analyst role in an IT consulting company, and started working in New York City and going through the grind. But I was always involved in nonprofit organizations, trying to figure out how to keep my tie to my academic training, and volunteering, with these nonprofits, and then co-founding them, living kind of a double life. So doing my, growing in my IT career, and then having the nonprofit stuff that we do. And just for me, once I met Kuzzat and met the team at Cydeo, it was kind of a light bulb moment, because it was the best of both worlds, right? Helping people, being part of a purpose-driven organization, and leveraging my IT background. So that was kind of the shift or pivot for me from my side. Kuzzat's story is a little bit different.
Yeah, Kuzzat, well, tell us your story.
So I was, as I mentioned earlier, feeling bad for people in my situation. So
right.
Just teaching them for free as a community service. And since I encouraged them to sign up for IT courses and learn coding, they would often call me, So I remember at one point I get out of work 5 p.m. So people start calling me, asking me, how do I answer this interview questions? How do I do this? How do I do that? And one day I had this guy who recorded my 1 hour conversation. Like I was in traffic anyway. So like, I'm just trying to help. And he typed my transcript like manually in Word document, memorized it. He went to interview and he found a job. I was like, man, this people, they want to learn from me, right? So yeah. I thought, maybe this is something that I could do to have a side hustle and extra income for my family.
Right.
And it's not like I have this huge dream. It was like I believed in what I was doing, but I didn't know that this is going to turn this big. So at some point, I was getting lots of inquiries. I said, let me do this. I went to Fiverr. I paid $5 and I made a video. Like it was like 20-second video. I still have it, saying, you want to learn IT, call this number, whatever, like with the motivational music. And I put it on Facebook. People start calling me, and this guy said, Kuzzat, where's your address? I was like, come to Panera. so I don't know why some people still showed up in Panera. So I opened up my laptop and I showed them my slides and say, how can I help you to get into IT? And I show step-by-step process. And some of them were skeptical. I showed them my paycheck. So pay stub, not paycheck. And, I did that presentation maybe, 50 times in Panera, in Starbucks. And at the end, I had pretty good amount of leads. And I talked to this guy who has a construction company in Tyson's Corner. And he has this conference room that you can barely fit 20 people. And I said, you're not using it in evening and weekends, right? He said, yeah, I'm not using it. I said, do you want to rent? And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I want to teach people IT. And we negotiated the price and end up, I offered him 1,000. He said, no, 1,500. So we end up with 1,500. It was my birthday on August 20 in 2005. I called this local community center. I know the owner, director in there. I said, I want to run an intro session. Can you borrow your chairs? I didn't have enough chairs in that conference room. He said, yeah, So I rent a van and I put all these chairs in the van. I drove from Fairfax to Tyson's Corner, put it there. I remember I have a picture. I says, this is my birthday present for myself, right? I had that post on Facebook. And then we call all these people who, attended my pitch in Starbucks and Panera, and we went through that together. And I had co-founder, he was my colleague at work as well. So we went through all these processes, and people, I said, don't pay, don't pay a month, just attend the course. And we did everything possible to teach them, the very best we could. And after a month, people start paying like $500 per month. I was like, we're on something. So I started looking for location in the same building, and there were like 1,948 square feet place, suite 200 in 7921 Jones Branch Drive in Times Square. So I talked to my construction companies, like, the guy is my friend. I said, can you talk to the landlord, because I'm a poor guy. Maybe they don't rent me. The guy introduced me. So I rented the spot. We moved to the bigger room. I had 3 conference rooms, 1 classroom. So at some point I had to calculate how wide is the training table so I can fit more people. So I was going to IKEA to measure. Anyway, so the first class was 20 students. The second class was 40. When my first student got offer and started working, that day I give my 2 weeks notice on Fannie Mae. In Fannie Mae, I focused this 100% of the time. So from that initial 20 student.
What did they get? The first student, he went from what salary to what salary? Or she?
I don't remember it was he, but he got offer from Geico that I believe it was a first ever student for 90 plus something. Because here's the thing.
They were happy. He was happy.
Yeah, he was very happy. IT is, because there's such a demand in IT and less supply, common sense salary is like $90,000 to $100,000.
Right.
I mean, otherwise people like, they don't get into IT. So he got something 90 after negotiation. So from the initial 20 students to 40 students. And then in 2020, like last year, we had students around 24 countries, and it was more than 2,000 students. And it's all word of mouth, right? It's all about how it works is, you have this guy like me who's working in the restaurant as a waiter, and that person signs up. And after 6 months, that person goes back to the restaurant and say, hey, I'm quitting. And his manager, his or her colleagues, and ask, where are you going? And I'm working in IT. How did you do it? So everybody goes crazy. They're like, I want to be like you too. So like one average students brings back like 3 to 5, referrals to Cydeo or CyberTech, as we mentioned. So that's how it's going right now.
That's amazing. And it's a $500 a month roughly, or how do you monetize that? Because a lot of these folks, like you said, are poor and they can't afford it, right?
Yeah. So what we did is this: it's no longer 500 because we are increasing our services as we scale. Right. So right now it's the tuition is $12,000 for 7 months training
for the program.
So they pay half in a monthly payment, like $850 a month. And once they reach 6,000, they don't pay anymore until they find a job. So, half they pay while they study. Right. And the rest half, they're no longer low income anymore when they get offer from, Capital One or Bank of America or any Amazon.
Of course.
So they can pay the rest again with a monthly payment. So it's pretty affordable. There's no interest. There's no income sharing agreement, nothing. It's just very straightforward. And I think authenticity and our background of feeling the pain of these individuals, I think give us lots of credibility. People trust
of course.
us.
Yeah, of course.
And we commit for, the thing is this, right? One of the problem with higher education in the United States is, I'm not talking about Harvard, Stanford, I'm talking about average, colleges. People go to 4-year degree and they get a diploma and they have no jobs because they're not job ready, right? So from my perspective, you need to get a job because you have family, you have to pay rent. I cannot bring, let's say I have kids, right? I'm not going to put my certification diploma and said, eat, this is my dinner for my kids. They need to have like food in the refrigerator, So our criteria is this, right? One thing, we want people to find a job. That's it. That's exit criteria.
Right. And
I think it's important.
Yeah. Arben, how, and you guys just said, let's create this company together? Because you're the founder, right? Yeah.
No, no. So Kuzzat and Murado I founded the company back in 2015, right? What
Okay.
I joined in 2018. So
Okay.
things had really just, cyber tech was already in its kind of high growth mode at that time, trying to mature our processes, build our kind of systems and teaching to scale with more students, and trying to figure out how do we maintain the founding principles of the company. One, like Kuzzat was saying, is this obsession with a job at the end of the day. It's the idea that we have the same skin in the game as our students. So we're betting on the success of our students with our payment structure. So they don't pay us, half the tuition if they don't find a job, right? Everything centers around them being able to change their lives. And then it's, the human-centric approach to all of this, right? We're not, on our website, you're not going to see like our placement rates or a bunch of lines of code looking like Matrix, right? It's about the humans that are involved. So you're going to see people's faces. It's all about how do we take somebody in a journey with us, give them all of the support they need from all aspects, not just technical, and then make them job ready on day one after they graduate, and make them the best technical candidates possible. One of the reasons that we were able to get this level of success is not just because of those principles, but also we know which technologies to really focus on. And those are the emerging technologies like test automation, right? So in software development, everything that we're learning is going into automation. And there is a talent gap, or there has been a talent gap in the people that have those technical skill sets to transition into the future roles of technology. And so we're very deliberate about which roles that we're training for. And they have to be specific job titles at the end of the day. We're not training for some skills. Like, a lot of other boot camps out there are just saying, get some coding skills to enhance your resume. We're training to very specific jobs and very specific job titles that are in emerging technologies. So we're doing a lot of stuff. We have our cybersecurity program, we have our test automation program, and we're building other programs as well. At the end of the day, it's not just lip service, right? An ISA, a traditional ISA, is not something that we call student friendly, right? It's no skin in the game on the side of the company.
What's ISA?
It's an income sharing agreement. It's a way for students to be able to finance their educations. And what ends up happening with traditional ISAs is that the final tuition amount ends up being maybe triple what the original tuition is supposed to be, because it depends also on the income that you'll get after you find a job. And by the time you pay it off, it's just this balloon payment. It's equivalent, in my mind at least, of usury or indentured servitude, right? And people are trying to find ways of allowing students to pay for their education, which is good. But we just have to be careful, at least from Cydeo's perspective, that we ourselves would back, that type of a model for ourselves or somebody from Kuzzat's background.
If you're going from 30,000 to 90,000, paying 6,000 of that for your tuition that enabled it is completely reasonable. I think anybody would think that's perfectly fine. That sounds like an amazing program. And you're growing it without advertising. This is just a word of mouth.
Pretty much, yeah. So we have advertising, but there isn't any, almost 100% of it is organic. I would also say that, our model is this zero to hero approach, right? Like, we're not one of those boot camps that's going to tell you in 12 weeks you're going to be a software developer. Right. No, it's 7 months intensive full time, and one of the only reasons that it's full time. We don't have part time formats, by the way.
Right.
We just especially here in the U.S., like, we don't believe that to get to where we need you to get, we need that full 7 months. And internally, Kuzzat knows this, right? We have arguments all the time because our academic team, which knows the content and knows what it takes to get the student out the other side successfully, is constantly pushing for more time.
Right.
Right. To the benefit and the best interest of the student. And we're always trying to figure out what the trade-offs are. But 7 months, we're not just talking full-time, Terry, where it's like 5-6 days a week for 5 hours a day. And that's just the course time, the live online instruction.
Right.
And they're simulating the work environment. They're working in simulated IT teams, student groups. They have two different types of mentors. We don't just have industry mentors that are out working in the field. We have those. We also have full-time mentors that are dedicated. And we're one of the only schools out there that hires most of our instructors full-time because we're so dedicated to the journey of that student. And we're not willing to sacrifice anything when it comes to that student's success. So like, most schools out there are hiring part-time, industry practitioners. So we're really, if the student is committing to this journey and transforming themselves in 7 months, they're going to find us with them every step of the way. That's kind of our model or philosophy.
And what can they do when they graduate? Are they, what do they do after they finish your program?
Yeah, so in our test automation program, they're applying for jobs as software developers in test or test automation engineers. And so part of our program is the placement side, right? From day one all the way up until the point they're graduating, they're preparing themselves for interviews, for being able to talk about their technical skills and how to best sell themselves in the interview. So they're applying to very specific IT roles, which is, again, really critical.
What kind of students do you have? Are they 20-year-old computer nerds or 50-year-old, moms, or what are some cool student stories that you have?
That's the best part. Kuzzat, I'm going to give this one to you.
So generally in IT, right, there's a perception that you have to be young. Yeah, I do think there's an age discrimination problem that you cannot prove. Nobody would tell a 50 years old individual, because you're 50, we're not hiring you. They're going to come up with some reasons that you cannot prove is age discrimination. However, it is difficult for those people, but we have anywhere between 18, 19 years old to 55 years old people. And those, one of the most inspiring people are the one who are mother, raising kids for many years, staying home. And I have 4 kids. I know how it feels like as a mother, not being part of society, because always busy with, making breakfast for kids, preparing them for school. I would say 1 kid is like 2 full-time jobs, right? You have 3 kids, is 6 full-time jobs.
100%. Raising kids is work. It's really hard work, and it's important work. And you're not on the cover of a magazine as a power business person. And yeah, I get it.
It's very unfortunate. I get lots of questions when I do intro session saying, I am a mother. I've been raising my kids at home for many years. Do you think I can do it? So as if being a mother is a disadvantage.
Right.
Here's what I see, right, from our students' life. Mother is the most resilient people on earth, right? If you can raise a child, you can bring a child alive to planet Earth,
right,
and grow those kids, you can change the world. You can do whatever you want. It's not because you're less competent. It's because you're more competent, right? So,
and you have to be responsible. You got to put food on the table.
Absolutely.
Clothes. They're very responsible.
Here's the inspiration coming from. I saw those 40 years old mothers, after their kids going to school, they have to prepare their thing and study and also take care of the family. Also, some of them are working and still able to make it, right? Recently, we had a 55 years old, I guess. She was immigrant. She lost her job because of political reason. Again, political unrest in their country. She came to the United States as a refugee, and she finished. She said, I barely know how to use smartphone, but I graduated, I got offer, and she's like, I'm gonna dedicate rest of my life to share the stories to others so everyone else can become like me, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the most important thing that I want to mention is this, right? I know the feeling of rejection when I apply for a job for Harris Teeter and Home Depot, and when I see those entry criteria, you have to have college degree. I know how it feels, right? You have to have technical background. So I look at some of the boot camps saying that we have rigorous admission process, right? For me, for us in Cydeo, the entry criteria to the school is I mean, maybe if you have a GED or high school diploma, nice to have. Okay, it's not required. It's nice to have, and you speak English. You understand what we're talking about. Anyone with that criteria can come in with no background, because transformation means, it doesn't mean that you take the best in the market. They already know how to be successful. They already learn on their own on Udemy. They know how to code, and you polish them up, put the market, and say, look at our placement ratio. Look at our students are finding jobs. For us, that's not the key. For us is taking people from closed coal mine, from people let go of the factories, they lost their job because of, some jobs are outsourced to China, whatever. And taking these people have no coding background, no college education, no technical education, to say, we want to serve you. You are the people that we want to serve, like Kuzzat in the early days in the United States. So that's why I think it's going to take 7 months instead of 12 weeks. And we spend time to transform these people.
I think that's an important point, Kuzzat, because if there's anything I would argue that we're proud of, is that we built the program, or we designed the program over these years since 2015 to make anybody successful, to come in with any background and at the end be successful. So we weren't building a program, to take a specific set of people or a subset of people to make them successful. It was either we do this for anybody or we don't do it at all, right? And I think that's a really just key point. And everybody at Cybertech really feels kind of like a little bit of pride about that.
It's interesting though, the one criteria you have is English. More English, more money. And it's so true. And I hate it when you see, and sometimes people want to enable, Spanish language this, and all you're doing is preventing people from becoming more successful, right? It's the reality of the world that if you want to be successful, you have to speak English. It's an international business language. That's such an important fundamental thing. And you can't do your program without speaking English. And you can't do 90% of the opportunities on earth in the business world anyway are going to require English. And we should acknowledge that as it helps people become more successful, and it's not like evil that we're forcing them to speak English. It actually enables them to become more successful.
So I think from my perspective, right, if you look at Java or SQL or HTML, or, JavaScript, right, all this mainstream programming languages, it's based on English. You don't see Chinese, you don't see,
right.
Hebrew on coding. You use
right.
English, right?
Right.
So even in most basic things that we learn called SQL, it's database language, right? So let's say select star from employees is the most known hello world kind of programming.
Right.
It's in English, right? So I was telling people who speak English, especially in the United States, I was like, listen, guys, you think you don't have any coding background and you want to learn coding and you think it's difficult. Let me tell you what's difficult, right? I said, this hardworking Chinese guy or Japanese guy, if they don't speak English and they want to learn coding, they have to learn English first, because they need to learn what's select, what's all the statements, what's all the syntax in the code is in English. They have to learn that
English
first.
Right.
And then they get into coding. I was like, you're already halfway through because you speak English. You're 50% more developer than anyone else on planet Earth. And what's your problem? What's your excuse,
And when
it's amazing. Yeah. Kuzzat, you spoke Chinese and basically Turkish, and I've dabbled in Chinese and I spent 3.5 years going to Turkey. Those are not English. Those are tough language. That's amazing how well you've come to English. Sorry, Arben.
No. I was just going to say, when you get over the barrier of English, right? Once you have that base level of understanding and you're still learning, right? That's more than enough to get you through our program. But what a lot of students assume is that it's all technical.
Right.
And the best parts of our program, I would argue, and many students would argue, is not the technical stuff. I mean, we teach it exceptionally well, but it's the concepts that we're teaching or making students mindful of that are going to get them through other hurdles in life. So that 7 months, we have you kind of in this cage, and we can work on multiple aspects of you to get you out the other side successful, because you're going to face issues at the workplace that you may not yet be prepared for. So we're teaching you about imposter syndrome, right? And what that actually means, and how to be mindful of it, and how to get around it.
What is it?
And so imposter syndrome, right? It's basically just a feeling, in simple words, right? As Professor Mahir, HBS says, right?
Oh, yeah.
As you talk to your talk to your loved ones at home on the weekend, is the feeling that you are an imposter, right? Even though you might have the training, the skills, whether it's academic or whether you just you know what you're talking about, but you still feel inept. You still feel like an imposter.
Right. I get it.
That you don't belong. Exactly. Yeah. So we're teaching concepts like this. We're teaching the Dunning-Kruger Effect, right? The idea that as soon as you learn a little bit of knowledge, once you're at a point where you've learned something, you feel like you know more than you actually do. Mm-hmm. And then once you get over that hurdle where you're learning more and more and more, then comes the realization that you actually don't know anything. And like there's just so many things that we're teaching as part of that human-centric approach, mm-hmm. And that approach towards transforming somebody's entire mindset, that I think are going to prepare our students for many more challenges. And I think one of the things that we really try to explain to our students in different ways and different angles is it's a concept that really hit me hard at HBS. Do you remember, Terry, Professor Thomas DeLong?
I did not have him. So for the audience, HBS, real quick for the audience, Harvard Business School. I was a student there 10 years ago. I guest lecture there, and we met 2 years ago while I was teaching my class. You guys went there as students anyway. So I don't remember him.
Yeah. So he's been at HBS forever. Okay. And I was a part of a session that he was teaching. It was called The Perils of High Achievement. And he was incorporating concepts of gratitude there. But anyway, so the point was that, as Thomas DeLong says, is that, like, we try to encourage our students to embrace the hard stuff in life and not accept a certain outcome or fate, right? Just to constantly do the difficult things. And that came from the example of Thomas DeLong, where he would tell his students as they're graduating their graduation assignment or exam, that they had to write a letter, not a text message, a physical letter to a loved one of gratitude, and read it to them. And in our session, Terry, like it was really touching because he played a video of one of his students, his executive education students, reading. So he wrote the letter, and he wasn't there. He was traveling for work. He was constantly traveling for work. And he made his wife read the letter to his daughter, who was, I think, maybe 5 or 6 at the time. And he wrote this letter of gratitude. I don't know how much it relates to what we're talking about, but and he read the letter saying that, I thank you for everything you are. You're my daughter, this and that. And I promise that my gift to you will be spending more time with you. And like the daughter just literally just broke down in tears. And she was so moved by that, like small, snippet of gratitude that the father displayed. And, these are the things that we find hard, but they're so meaningful. And so I don't want to sound too dramatic and too emotional, but these are some of the things that we're really trying to relate to our students, some really difficult but important life lessons as a part of the program.
Yeah, that's amazing. It almost seems like your company, you're in the IT industry, because the IT industry is where there's a lot of good middle-class jobs. If that were in, farming or in energy or whatever industry you could find that, you guys would be doing exactly what you're doing. Just, you're more of the human side school than, and IT is just what you have to do to actually get the job, which is great.
Yeah, that's a vehicle.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I'm really moved by this discussion. Certainly, Kuzzat, your immigration story is more impressive than coming from New Jersey or Maryland, like Arben and I. That's a story in itself. That's a movie we need to talk about. I'm into film now. We need to talk about that. But and for me, you guys just motivated me. I'm working on a startup company right now, renewable energy company, and God, that is not an easy thing. And you talk about rejecting and the imposter syndrome and all that stuff is exactly what I feel and I'm going through. So it's a very motivational thing for me. Well, hopefully, folks, if there's folks listening that are interested in a career change or, want to improve their situation in life, how do they, if they are interested in that, or they have a nephew that just graduated and doesn't know what he's going to do or whatever, how do they find you guys?
They go to cydeo.com, cydeo.com, okay, and they'll find all the information about us. They join our intro session and they learn what they're signing up for exactly, because it's lots of commitment. It's not like, oh, come here, take this blue pill. After 12 weeks, you're going to be rich. It's not about that. They have to put effort. So they need to understand how much time commitment they need to have, arrange their family, because I do believe this is a family decision, because, the individual sign up needs to have family support as well, because this is a life-changing journey. So Cydeo.com.
Cydeo.com. All right. Well, thank you both for coming on. Wish we could do it in person, but I'm thankful for, here's my gratitude for the day is to Zoom for making this kind of thing personal. I need to write Zoom a letter. A letter of gratitude.
Thank you so much, Terry, for having us.
Thanks for joining me, guys. This is great.
Thank you. Okay.